On this recent trip to South Asia, I had an opportunity to meet for the first time really the founders of the Stone Table, and I was so impressed with the heart. What really impressed me, though, was the mix of the supernatural and the strategic. Sometimes we think of like church work, and then we think of business work. Both are incredibly spiritual. In fact, when you think of a train running down the tracks, there's two tracks, and I believe one is supernatural and one is strategic, but both are very spiritual. God, when He creates the heavens and the earth, 6 days, supernatural creation. On the seventh day, He flips the switch, and it's not supernatural, it's incredibly strategic. He rests. God of the universe doesn't have to rest, but strategically, He shows us a model of trust in me and then also rest. So there's these two tracks, the supernatural track and the strategic, but both are incredibly spiritual. And then when you see Jesus come and build His team that's going to do big things, that's going to turn the world upside down, that in a tiny little Middle Eastern village, the message of the gospel of Jesus is going to now hit all of the continents of the globe in a matter of years. You see the supernatural and the strategic. Even with the calling of the disciples, I think of Peter working. He's a businessman. And actually, he's at the bottom of the business. They've fished all night, haven't caught a thing. But there's this supernatural interaction with Jesus. Jesus then invites them, hey, go cast out your nets. So strategically, these businessmen, they're tired. They're thinking about their overhead that they haven't been able to cover. They're thinking about, I got to get up and do this tomorrow night again. But instead they say, okay, because you say so, Peter takes his crew, the whole fishing company. They go back out into the sea. They cast strategically. They cast their nets. And all of a sudden, something supernatural takes place. And what I see happening with the Stone Table is if we can figure out as business leaders and pastors how to strategically cast nets, it's Jesus that stirs the water. And if I were Peter and I had the best catch of my life, the best year, the highest profits of my life, I'd be thinking about going home to Mrs. Peter saying, let's go to Macy's. I'd be thinking about, I think it's time for the Rolex. If I was thinking, this might be time for the Ferrari donkey. I'm thinking that way if I'm Peter the businessman. But then Jesus comes up to Peter after the best business day he's ever had. And Jesus says, you think this is great? You think these nets full of fish, this is cool? What if we caught people together? And what I see happening at the Stone Table is this incredible mix between the supernatural and the strategic of, hey, let's cast some nets. Let's let Jesus stir the water. Let's catch some stuff. But you think that's great? Like, what if we could do all these things together and just catch more people? And ever since Jesus called the very first team, I see the Stone Table calling together teams of pastors and leaders to say, hey, you think this is great? Let's catch people together.